There's a rule every man must learn before love turns him weak. The moment you start chasing, you start losing power. Not because love itself is weakness, but because attachment without control is. Love is supposed to expand your strength, not drain it. But most men mistake intensity for connection. They meet a woman, feel chemistry, and instantly begin to orbit her world, checking their phones, adjusting their plans, molding themselves to her moods. They think it's loyalty, but in truth, it's dependency wrapped in devotion. The more they give up their center, the more invisible they become in her eyes. A Stoic man understands that love is not about chasing emotions. It's about leading them. He knows that chasing doesn't make her love you more. It only makes her respect you less. Because every time you prioritize validation over composure, you communicate one silent message. Your attention defines my worth. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who cannot stand alone. The Stoic rule is brutally simple: hold your frame or lose your influence. In relationships, power doesn't come from dominance, it comes from direction. It's the quiet confidence of a man who knows he could chase, but chooses not to. A man who remains calm when she tests his patience, detached when she tries to trigger reaction, grounded when the energy shifts. That calm doesn't make him cold, it makes him magnetic. Because the moment a woman feels that you won't break your peace for her attention, she starts to feel something she didn't expect: curiosity. She starts to question what gives you that calm, what makes your emotions so disciplined, what holds you steady when most men would crumble. That curiosity turns into attraction. That attraction turns into respect. And that respect becomes the foundation of lasting love. Chasing is reactive. Leadership is proactive. When you chase, you communicate fear. When you lead, you communicate value. And in love, the one who holds emotional control, not manipulation, but clarity, holds power. The Stoic man doesn't play games. He simply refuses to lose himself. He knows that when you hold your ground in love, your silence speaks louder than any confession. So before you chase her, pause and remember this rule. Power in love is not about having control over her. It's about having control over yourself. When you master that, you don't need to chase attention, because attention starts chasing you. This is the Stoic rule every man must follow, not to dominate love, but to protect the peace that makes love possible. Before we start, remember, if you're ready to master yourself and the dating game, my full course is waiting at the stoiccouple.podia.com site. Join once and you're in for life, with lifetime access to every future lessons, series, and books. Start your journey now, because growth doesn't wait. Let's dive in. Section 1. Why most men lose power the moment they fall in love. The irony of love is that the very thing meant to elevate a man often ends up disarming him. When most men fall in love, they don't just open their hearts, they abandon their center. They begin to shift from strength to softness, from leadership to pleasing, from clarity to confusion. What begins as affection quickly mutates into obsession, and what was once attraction turns into quiet submission. They think they're proving devotion, but in truth, they're losing direction. This is how power fades in silence, not through dramatic moments, but through small emotional compromises repeated daily. A man starts checking his phone every few minutes, waiting for a message that defines his mood. He starts changing his schedule to fit her convenience, giving up his goals to preserve her comfort. Slowly, his purpose becomes secondary, and his peace becomes conditional. Without realizing it, he trades his self-respect for the illusion of connection. Women may enjoy the attention at first, but deep down, they stop feeling safe when a man loses control of his emotions. A woman's nature is drawn to masculine certainty, not the kind that controls, but the kind that remains composed in chaos. When a man begins to chase, she senses instability. And when she senses instability, attraction slowly dissolves. She may not even understand why her feelings shift, but they do, because she no longer feels the gravity that once pulled her toward him. The Stoic man avoids this trap by remembering one truth. Love does not require surrender of self. Love that costs you your peace is not love, it's attachment. Real love thrives when both partners remain grounded in individuality, not when one becomes dependent on the other for emotional balance. That's why the Stoic man treats love not as a battlefield, but as a balance. He gives from fullness, not from need. He loves with presence, not with pressure. Losing power in love happens the moment you start negotiating your worth. You do it every time you chase after her mood swings, explain yourself endlessly, or apologize for having boundaries. You do it every time you prioritize being understood over being respected. The Stoic man flips that pattern entirely. He knows that peace cannot exist without principle. He doesn't silence his truth to maintain comfort. He speaks it with calm authority. Because he understands that emotional self-control isn't detachment, it's self-respect in motion. So, if you ever feel like love is making you weak, pause. It's not love that's draining you. It's your loss of focus within it. The moment you return to yourself, the balance returns too. And when a man finds that balance again, his presence becomes magnetic once more. The power that seemed lost was never gone. It was simply buried under the noise of chasing what he already was. Enough. Section 2. The illusion of chasing. Why effort can kill attraction. Every man has been taught to believe that effort equals love. That if he tries harder, texts faster, gives more, and proves his loyalty constantly, he will earn the woman's affection. But the truth, the one few men dare to face, is this. The more you chase love, the more it runs from you. Because in the act of chasing, you're not communicating love, you're revealing fear. And fear is the one emotion that quietly poisons attraction. Chasing feels natural in the beginning. It feels romantic, determined, even noble. But beneath that noble surface hides insecurity. The fear of losing her, of not being enough, of being replaced. That's why the more effort you show, the less mystery you hold. The woman no longer feels tension. She feels control. And when a man tries to control connection, he suffocates it. Love, by nature, flows toward confidence and curiosity, not toward desperation. The Stoic man understands that the moment you chase, you reverse the polarity of attraction. Masculine energy is built to lead, not to pursue. The chase communicates imbalance. It tells her you need her validation to feel valuable. That imbalance makes her withdraw because it feels emotionally heavy. What she once saw as confidence now feels like anxiety. What was once charm now becomes pressure. This is the illusion of chasing. It makes you believe you're building closeness when you're actually eroding it. You think you're creating connection, but what you're really doing is removing the space that allows desire to grow. The more she feels your constant presence, the less she has room to miss you. The more she senses your eagerness, the less she feels your strength. Chasing doesn't say, I care. It says, I need. And no woman feels attraction toward the energy of need. The Stoic man replaces chasing with composure. He knows that effort without direction is noise, and presence without pressure is power. He moves differently because his motivation is different. He doesn't text to gain attention. He texts when his words carry purpose. He doesn't call to relieve anxiety. He calls when it aligns with his intention. That discipline transforms communication into leadership. In love, effort is not what attracts her, energy is. When your energy says, I'm grounded in who I am. She feels safe leaning into that stability. But when your energy says, I need you to choose me, she instinctively pulls away. The more a man chases validation, the more he loses his silent authority, and the less magnetic he becomes. So stop believing that love is earned through pursuit. Real love is sustained through presence, through the quiet power of a man who doesn't need to chase because he's already chosen himself. The Stoic man doesn't run after affection. He draws it in through discipline, balance, and emotional certainty. Because the truth is simple. What you chase, you teach to run. But what you embody, you attract without effort. Section 3. The Stoic balance. Leading without controlling. Every powerful man eventually learns that leadership in love has nothing to do with control. It's not about making her obey. It's about creating a rhythm that both of you can feel safe inside. Control is born from fear. Leadership is born from certainty. The difference is invisible to the eye, but unmistakable to the heart. When a man tries to control a woman, she feels resistance. When a man leads with composure, she feels trust. And trust is what keeps attraction alive long after passion fades. The Stoic man doesn't lead through words alone. He leads through energy. His calm becomes the emotional compass of the relationship. When conflict arises, he doesn't argue to win. He listens to understand, then speaks with direction. His tone remains steady even when emotions flare. That steadiness doesn't make him detached. It makes him dependable. Because in moments when she feels lost in her feelings, his composure becomes the ground beneath her feet. But to reach that level of calm, a man must first conquer his inner storms. He cannot lead her emotions if he is still a slave to his own. That's why emotional discipline is the foundation of Stoic balance. It means mastering the art of response, pausing before reacting, reflecting before speaking, choosing principle over impulse. Every time you do that, you reinforce the message that your peace cannot be bought, shaken, or taken. And that message builds the kind of respect that no words can command. A woman doesn't crave a man who controls her decisions. She craves a man whose direction makes her feel safe enough to follow. The Stoic man doesn't demand trust. He earns it through consistent emotional strength. He doesn't raise his voice to assert dominance. His calm does it for him. And when he says less, his silence carries meaning because it's backed by conviction. That's the paradox of Stoic leadership. The less you try to prove, the more you're believed. True power in love is not about holding her down. It's about holding yourself steady. It's being firm in your boundaries without needing to explain them endlessly. It's guiding with clarity, not coercion. It's giving her the freedom to move, knowing that your presence remains unshaken no matter what happens. That stability becomes magnetic because it contrasts everything unstable in her world. When a woman feels that you're grounded, that her emotions can rise and fall while yours remain centered, she begins to relax into your energy. That's when attraction deepens into respect, and respect matures into devotion. Not because you forced it, but because your energy made it feel inevitable. The Stoic man leads not by chasing compliance, but by embodying composure. He knows that love doesn't need control to survive. It needs direction. And once he provides that direction without ego, he becomes the calm at the center of her storm. The man she can trust, follow, and never quite forget. Section 4. Emotional gravity, the power of calm, masculine presence. Every man carries a certain kind of energy, but few ever learn to refine it into presence. Presence is not how loud you speak, how much you text, or how many gestures you make. Presence is the silent authority that fills a room without a word. It's the invisible weight of self-control, the quiet magnetism of a man who does not need to prove anything to be felt. That is what we call emotional gravity, the kind of power that makes people, especially women, lean toward your calm instead of your chaos. When a man learns to control his emotions, he doesn't suppress them, he channels them. He knows that anger, desire, and passion are not enemies. They are energies to be mastered. His composure is not emptiness, it's directed energy. He feels everything deeply, but he chooses how and when to express it. That choice is what separates men who are reactive from men who are respected. The reactive man spills his emotions everywhere. The Stoic man carries his emotions like a sword, sharp, precise, and never drawn without reason. This emotional gravity becomes the backbone of attraction. Women are not drawn to noise. They are drawn to stability. They may flirt with chaos, but they build trust in calm. The man who radiates steadiness in a world that's constantly trying to provoke him becomes unforgettable. His silence doesn't make her question his interest. It makes her wonder about his depth. His restraint doesn't make her think he's cold. It makes her feel his control. That subtle difference shifts everything. Masculine presence is a language without words. It tells her, I'm not trying to impress you. I'm simply being me. It's the look that holds her attention longer than any line could. It's the way you listen, not to respond, but to understand. It's how you move through the world without seeking validation, knowing that your peace is your power. When a woman feels that, she feels safe. And safety is the seed of desire, not control. But here's the deeper truth. Presence is not something you perform, it's something you become. It's the byproduct of living with purpose, keeping your word, and mastering your emotional impulses. When you build a life grounded in discipline and direction, your energy naturally changes. You stop chasing approval because you already have your own. You stop over-explaining because your actions speak louder. And you stop fearing loss because your worth is no longer tied to being chosen. It's tied to being centered. That's why emotional gravity isn't learned through tactics. It's cultivated through self-mastery. Every time you resist the urge to react, you strengthen your pull. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you deepen your presence. And every time you walk away from what disturbs your peace, you increase your power. The Stoic man doesn't dominate people. He anchors them. His presence becomes a refuge in a world addicted to noise. And that's why he doesn't need to chase love. Love naturally finds its way to his stillness. Section 5. Power and Patience. How stillness turns desire into respect. Every man wants to be desired. But what most men never realize is that desire, on its own, is fragile. It burns bright and fades quickly when it isn't met with respect. And respect, unlike desire, cannot be demanded or faked. It must be earned through stillness, through the ability to wait without losing presence, to stay composed when everything inside you screams to react. That stillness is not weakness. It's spiritual strength disguised as patience. Patience in a man reveals power. It shows that he is guided by principle, not impulse. The Stoic man understands that when you rush, you communicate scarcity, the silent confession that you fear losing something. But when you wait, when you let moments unfold without panic, you reveal abundance. You tell the world, I trust time because I trust myself. That self-trust radiates authority. It transforms you from a man who begs for outcomes into a man who creates them. When a woman meets a man like that, her entire energy begins to shift. She feels something she can't explain, a mix of safety and curiosity. Because your patience doesn't feel like indifference, it feels like control. She begins to notice that your emotions don't rise and fall with hers. She tests, she provokes, she wonders, yet you remain unmoved. Not cold, not detached, just centered. And that calm becomes addictive. It's what turns her desire into respect, because she realizes she can't move you the way she moves others. Most men lose this balance the moment emotion enters the picture. They let feelings dictate actions, and impatience consumes their clarity. But the Stoic man uses emotion as fuel, not guidance. He feels everything but responds only when it aligns with purpose. His patience is not passive, it's active waiting. It's the conscious choice to remain silent until the right word matters, to stay still until the right action counts. That control is what separates fleeting attraction from lasting admiration. Patience is the highest form of confidence because it proves that you're not rushed by fear. You're not chasing validation. You're moving at the pace of your own certainty. You've detached from the outcome, but not from your standard. You can walk away peacefully, not because you don't care, but because you trust that what's meant for you will never require you to beg. That level of calm cannot be faked. It's earned through experience, heartbreak, and discipline. And here lies the paradox every woman feels but rarely understands. The less you push, the more she pulls. When you wait from strength, not weakness, she begins to feel your absence as presence. Your silence becomes a question in her mind. Your restraint becomes a reflection of your worth. And slowly, she starts chasing what she once took for granted. Your energy, your composure, your peace. The Stoic man doesn't win through speed. He wins through stillness. Because while most men rush to prove their place in her life, he lets time prove his. And in that patience, power is reborn. Section 6. The art of letting her come to you. How respect turns into pursuit. There's a shift that happens when a man stops chasing and begins leading. The energy between him and a woman reverses. At first, she may not understand it. She might even test it, trying to pull him back into the old rhythm where she held emotional control. But when he remains composed, when he refuses to return to desperation, something inside her starts to change. The respect that once felt distant now becomes magnetic. The curiosity that once faded now starts to grow again. And slowly, she begins to move toward him. Not because he demanded it, but because his stillness called her back. Letting her come to you is not about playing games. It's about restoring balance. A woman cannot truly value a man she does not have to earn. Constant pursuit kills polarity. It removes the spark that tension creates. The Stoic man understands that the space between him and her is not empty. It's alive with meaning. It's in that space where desire matures into respect, where emotions settle and attraction deepens. Every time he resists the urge to chase, he builds emotional contrast. And contrast is what reignites the chase from her side. When a woman feels that you are no longer trying to prove yourself, her mind begins to wander. She starts wondering what changed, what occupies your focus, who now receives the attention she once took for granted. But it's not jealousy that draws her back. It's the realization that your peace is no longer negotiable. That realization triggers something primal. She begins to pursue your energy, not your attention, because now your energy feels rare. It feels earned. Most men destroy this dynamic the moment they sense her returning. They rush in too quickly, speak too soon, and break the very tension that made her curious again. But the Stoic man does the opposite. He remains steady. He doesn't punish her absence. He lets her experience the weight of it. When she reaches out, he responds with calm, not celebration. He knows that every interaction must reflect one message. My life didn't pause when you stepped away. That quiet confidence tells her that being with him is a privilege, not a guarantee. This kind of energy cannot be faked because it comes from true self-sufficiency. You can't make her chase you if your peace still depends on her attention. But once you detach, once you genuinely fill your life with purpose, her energy naturally returns. She feels the shift, that you've stopped orbiting her world and started building your own. That's when she realizes she's no longer the center of your universe. And ironically, that's when she wants to be. Letting her come to you isn't about silence alone. It's about energy alignment. It's the art of holding your value so firmly that the world adjusts around it. When you stop seeking her, you give her the gift of longing. When you stop reaching, you make her reach back. When you stop proving your worth, you remind her of it. That's how respect turns into pursuit, not through manipulation, but through mastery. And in that reversal, when she finally starts chasing the calm that once chased her, the Stoic man realizes something profound. Power in love was never about control. It was about centeredness. He didn't have to move mountains to win her back. He simply had to stop moving for what didn't honor his peace. At the end of every relationship, every heartbreak, and every moment of passion, one truth stands unchanged. Peace is power. Not the peace of avoidance, but the peace that comes from knowing who you are, even when love tests every corner of your strength. The Stoic man understands that holding power in love doesn't mean holding back affection. It means holding onto yourself. Because the moment you lose yourself to emotion, you surrender the very energy that made her fall for you in the first place. Power in love is not about control, it's about consistency. It's the ability to remain the same man you were before her, during her, and even after her. The man whose worth doesn't rise or fall based on how someone feels about him. The man whose silence carries meaning because it's rooted in certainty, not in fear. That kind of steadiness cannot be taught. It's cultivated through self-discipline, heartbreak, and reflection. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you build it. Every time you walk away with peace instead of resentment, you reinforce it. The Stoic law is clear. Never let your emotions lead where your principles should. Love deeply, but stand firmly. Give affection, but never trade your self-respect to keep it. The woman who is truly aligned with your path will never require you to abandon your balance to prove your care. And the one who does, she was never drawn to your soul, only to your surrender. Remember this. The man who chases loses momentum, but the man who holds his ground defines gravity. You don't hold power in love by trying harder. You hold it by needing less. By being the calm that her chaos gravitates toward, not the chaos that her calm destroys. That's the highest form of strength, love that flows from mastery, not from fear. So when emotion pulls you toward reaction, stop, breathe, return to center. Because the Stoic man doesn't seek control over others, he seeks command over himself. And once you reach that level, no rejection can break you, no silence can shake you, and no loss can define you. In the end, the greatest form of love you'll ever experience is not the one that makes you chase. It's the one that allows you to remain still, powerful, and at peace. That's how a man holds power in love, not by pursuing, but by embodying peace. Before you go, remember, if you're ready to master yourself and the dating game, my full course is waiting at the stoiccouple.podia.com site. Join once, and you're in for life, with lifetime access to every future lesson, series, and book. Start your journey now, because growth doesn't wait.